let us bring in CBSN technology reporter Dan Patterson to break this all down for us. Dan, I think for a lot of people, the first time they were hearing about Parler was over the weekend, maybe. We saw some examples of the posts that were most concerning from Parler. I think this weekend, Vlad, you may have seen the one about journalists being soft targets, any journalist being a soft target. Dan, can you explain to us how Parler was used by supporters of far-right viewpoints, and exactly just how popular is this platform?
So, Anne-Marie, let's answer your second question first. Parler was favored by and fairly active with conservatives and members of the far right, including some extremists. But when we put this relative to other social networks like Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, and others, it really didn't compare. The traffic was nothing like those sites, and their technology was nothing like those sites. Now, look, having been the recipient of countless death threats in the last 2 or 3 years, some of which originated on Parler, I can tell you that there is credence to the journalists are soft targets, but so are a lot of others. And, you know, we should say allies of the president and those who have crossed him are likely also recipients of a lot of these death threats. Of course, we saw some of the more overt threats targeting Vice President Pence, but I would be very surprised if a number of other conservatives didn't cross the president because they knew the consequences, and the consequences are not just targeted harassment, but death threats that are fairly credible.
So what are the chances that Parler comes back online in the future, Dan?
Fairly slim to none. However, Vlad, it depends on what you call online. So look, a big part of Parler's hosting came from Amazon Web Services. Now, Amazon is one of the largest cloud hosting providers in the country, in the world. Their competition is Microsoft Azure, Google Cloud Services, and there are a number of others from pretty robust technology firms like IBM. These are companies we've heard of. Now, all of these companies, or most of them, have issued statements kind of like Amazon did, or said that we're just not going to allow violent or racist, other types of toxic content on our platforms. A lot of websites rely on the front end. They put their website on the front end, and on the back end, they use technologies developed by big tech. So what's important there is to know that you can't just scale this. You can't just rebuild a new website. A lot of the technology they relied on was proprietary, and it requires not just years of R&D to develop, but some of the best developers, some of the best technologists in the Valley are working for firms like Amazon, Google, Microsoft, and others because they can afford them. You just cannot scale the technology and the skills needed to build a platform that competes with some of the biggest social networks. Now, Vlad, a little footnote to that is that a lot of these sites come online on the dark web, which doesn't scale, but it allows them to operate because the servers are based in, say, Russia, China, or elsewhere. So we could see it come back online, but nowhere near the scale that it was in the last few weeks.
So if not Parler, then there must be other places for people to go, though, that have fewer restrictions. Over the years, you and I have talked about the chans, the 4 and the 8 chans. What other places could some of these postings pop up?
Well, right now, I'm looking at a website called Discord. Now, I love Discord. I'm a gamer, and we use Discord for Dungeons and Dragons and other stuff. But we have seen in the past, especially around the Charlottesville riots, that violent Nazis and other incredible racists who are violent use Discord to coordinate and plan activities. In fact, this has kind of been referred to as the banality of fascism. Discord is a pretty commonly used platform, but we're also looking at the dark web. We're looking at encrypted services. Look, I love an app called Signal because it is used by InfoSec community people to encrypt communications, but you can also bet that encrypted communications will be used to plan and coordinate next steps for a lot of these extremists. Now, the challenge with that is scale. Once again, you just can't, without social media like Facebook and Twitter, you just can't communicate. You can't threaten at the scale that many of these people are accustomed to.
Dan, in a post over the weekend, Parler's CEO said that there's an ongoing, quote, war on competition and free speech. So it's interesting. How's Parler used this argument since the app was created? Because it strikes me that that's not true.
Yeah, that's right, Vlad. Look, it's not partisan to say it's just not true. Either they are misappropriating the First Amendment, or they simply have a fundamental lack of understanding of how the First Amendment works. In fact, the First Amendment protects private companies from doing what they want. They're private companies. They can kick people off if they want. A very popular argument used amongst the rank and file of technology workers in the Valley is, look, we're kind of like a bar. You can come into our bar and you can hang out, you can even get a little drunk and rowdy, but when you threaten another patron, I have the right to kick you out of my bar. It's my bar. And our social network is kind of like a bar. Look, if you don't like my rules, you can leave my bar, and I have the right to do that. So it's not a perfect analogy, but it's just silly to say this is a First Amendment issue. It's not. The government is not involved with Amazon saying we don't want hate speech on our platform.
Yeah, and what's shocking is that so many folks who have law degrees, have clerked for Supreme Court justices, are trying to say it's a First Amendment issue when we all know that it's not. Dan, always great to have you. Thank you very much.
Great to see you.